John Gignac's family members passed away that day, and he shares his story to save others.
Please make sure you have working CO alarms in your home. Protect your family today.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Join me over coffee as we delve into topics that affect our everyday lives. And today, I'm in conversation with Tracy Marsh, who is a professional organizer and owner of House in Order. And we are going to be talking about decluttering, downsizing, and organizing. We have a lot to talk about. And Tracy, it's lovely to see you, and thank you for coming in. And I enjoyed your seminar on Saturday morning. It was fabulous.
Good.
And I love your sense of humor around all of this.
You have to have a bit of a sense of humor when, you know, we're just all folks and we all have just human issues. So we like to inject a little bit of fun in the work that we do.
Well, do you think this is the perfect time of year to actually start looking around your house and saying, what is it that I really need and why is it piling up?
I think there's little triggers throughout the calendar that cause people to sort of get that notion that maybe I should, as they say, get my house in order. The new year is often that time of renewal, of thinking about our goals. Sometimes we get into spring and people have a sort of a spring refresh in mind. Then September comes and folks then often get sort of, it's like a mini new year, you know, a start of another season. The summer is perhaps behind us. So there's different pivots, I would say, or different key points in the calendar where folks do have an increased passion or, just motivation to do some things that maybe they've been putting off.
Well, I'm thinking that for us in our household, this is the perfect time of year because we've put all the Christmas stuff away. And then we're having these major snowstorms that prevent us from getting out when we want to get out. And you sort of feel maybe a little claustrophobic.
Yes.
And then kind of thinking, well, do I actually really need that? And would someone else benefit from it? And how can I either pass it on or maybe its use is just no longer of value to anyone?
Yeah, I think it is a good time. I do the same in my house. When I put my Christmas stuff away, you know, I'm in motion. I've done an activity it can be a bit taxing, packing up all that up, and then I'm ready for, you know, a little bit more. I've got that energy and to see, okay, I can do big stuff. So what are some of the other things that need to move in the house? Yeah.
For folks who really struggle with the amount of items that they have accumulating in the house, how can they just get started? Like, what are some tips to just, okay, pick up that piece of paper or clear out that drawer?
Right, and a lot of the calls we get, Mary Jane, are from folks who are overwhelmed. You know, we'll often hear the words, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, I can't sleep, I'm stressed. So it's affecting their mental health as well as their physical health. So really where to start, I think our issues when we get overwhelmed is we're thinking, I have all of this to do, and I'd like it all to be done. Of course, we are in that instant gratification society, but I think the key is to really do a little bit and to be consistent. So if you take that one piece of paper that you referred to pick that up, and paper can be such a nuisance in our lives if we don't deal with it. So what is that piece of paper? Is it the flyer from the grocery store from 3 weeks ago? So maybe it's recycling now. It's no longer of value. Is it part of our papers we need for our tax return this year? well, then maybe that has a spot. Hopefully there is a spot for that to go. But for a lot of people, there is no spot. They may have some organizing challenges, and in fact, there is chronic disorganization is something that some people do suffer from, and it could be part and parcel of other neurodiverse issues. So, part of our work could be, well, we need to find a place that where it is for those tax papers to go to, or maybe it's a bill to pay. So
or
let's get
will.
on it. Or your will, as a previous guest in your show has discussed as well, right? So that needs an important place as well.
So it's keeping those essential documents, getting rid of everything that's before date.
Yeah.
Like all those flyers that are no longer.
Right.
And you start slow and you start consistent. Now, are we talking about, chugging through a day, or are we chugging a little bit at a time?
I think it depends on the person. I mean, even if you wanted to set a timer for an hour and to say, well, here's my space that I'm feeling not awesome about. I feel like it's a little overrun with stuff, with clutter. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 20 minutes. I've even worked with some clients for 15 minutes. It is really remarkable how much you can accomplish in a short period of time if you decide for the next 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, I'm not going to be distracted by whatever is out there in the world. My television, my cell phone, my computer, my kids. I'm going to pick up one thing. I'm going to decide where it goes. I'm going to put it there, and then I'm going to come back and pick up the next thing and decide where that goes. And if I don't know, we don't want to handle things so many times, but if I don't know, perhaps that's where we're starting to be at the point where maybe we need a little bit of guidance, a little bit of professional help.
I see. So you have you pick something up, and your terminology was keep or
goodbye. Yes. So if we're downsizing or decluttering, you may be in those decisions around, maybe I don't need these things in my life anymore. So, beyond the paperwork of the conversation, we could be in our closet and saying, well, I really loved that sweater and I wore it 18 years ago, so maybe, and I have no intentions of wearing it now, perhaps it's time for me to say goodbye to that thing. So I think a really good practice for folks is to have a bag or a box or whatever sort of always on the go of things that you may touch throughout your day and say, what the heck am I doing with this thing? Maybe it's something I can take to one of the local thrift or charitable stores to donate and get it out of the house.
Well, I know that you're the CEO of your business.
Yes.
House in Order. But what does CEO really mean in your terminology?
Right. So this is, as I call it, the secret sauce for professional organizers, and this is how we'll often work. So if we're called to a home and we're looking at decluttering, downsizing a whole home, then we start with the CEO acronym. So the first C is to categorize. So the key here is folks often try to organize too much stuff. It cannot be done. It is a square peg in a round hole. It doesn't work. So the first order of business is to think about the possessions, the things that you have in categories. So we could broadly say, I have clothes, I have furniture, I have kitchenware, I have things in the garage, some people may have kids stuff. So we kind of go on and on. They have tools, they have bathroom things. So as we start to think of the categories of things we have, we may then come up with some subcategories. So often I will pick on the coffee mug in our life that a lot of my clients seem to have, and we all do acquire, a lot of coffee mugs throughout our lives. So if I'm dealing with a person who lives alone and I open their cupboard and they may have, 4 or 5 dozen coffee mugs. So we could take that as a category. We'd take them all out, put them on a counter or a table, ask the client, are there coffee mugs somewhere else in the house? Because sometimes we do have things in different areas. If there are, we get them all out. And now we're into the coffee mug category, the C. So only then we can look at and say, we have this many items in this category. What's the right number for us to live our lifestyle? Is it 5 dozen coffee mugs? Probably not. Is it maybe a dozen or so, depending again on your lifestyle? So if the client says, really 6 is enough coffee mugs for me to get through my days, then we say, well, let's pick out your favorite 6. Yeah. So that picking out your favorite 6 now, that's the E. We've categorized, now we're editing. So we're going to edit this collection down to 6. And only now can we organize those coffee mugs back in the cupboard. We know we have 6, this is where they go, and this is how they can fit in with all of our other things. So if the rest of those coffee mugs are like most of ours, we're going to pack them up and send them off to our favorite charitable or thrift shop.
So you have to edit before you can organize.
You do.
And so someone thinking, well, I'm just going to organize this room today, but really you have to edit before you can organize it.
Categorize, edit, and then organize.
So it sounds like taking on kind of one segment of that category at a time. So, and this is really for folks who are really struggling with letting things go.
Yes.
And we all have things that mean so much that we're just not ready to part with yet.
Yeah.
And the word is yet. To always hold that. I need to hold that for now,
yep.
But there will be a time when I can let it go. But I'm also, first and foremost, I can't think when I'm in a lot of clutter. Like I can't have a lot of stuff around in the house because it affects, it's not my mental health, it affects my ability to think about other things.
Yes. Well, and really, so you're distracted. Mm-hmm. It is proven that a lot of clutter can affect your mental health, create anxiety, it creates some chaos. You may become used to living in that type of an environment, but it doesn't mean it's not still affecting your mental health. It could create other issues for folks. For instance, maybe I have the capacity to pay my hydro bill, not a problem to pay it, but if I only knew where it was, and or that last warning that I've received, or whatever it is. So, a certain amount of, we all need a certain amount of order, and that order is different for everyone, in order to just to function in a way that you're happy to go about the world without suffering too many significant consequences. But ultimately, there can be consequences. So I've certainly had calls from folks that are saying, maybe I'm been in the middle of a divorce proceeding for the last several years, and it's dragging on. You would think, well, why are you calling me? I'm a professional organizer. Well, my lawyer needs documents of a certain sort, and I can't find them. I don't know where they are, and maybe I don't completely understand what they need in order to protect myself. So there's lots of different situations that a person can find themselves in. One we alluded to at the library was maybe a sudden change in health as well, that we're not expecting, of course. We expect that we're just a bit invincible, and perhaps a sudden change of health, whether it's permanent or temporary, can impact our capacity to keep our things together. So if it's already a little bit chaotic, it will become more chaotic.
One of the things that we've been doing, because my husband and I are on the same page, we both function much better when things are neat and everything in its place, but a home that looks comfortable and welcoming. But the other thing too is, you talked about estate. You're having to come in and clean out estates because it's too much of a burden for the family to handle. So one of the things that we've been doing is we've been allowing our family members to come in and pick out the pieces that they want and put their name on the back. And so when we're finished with that item and it's ready to move on, we know where we want it to go, and they're quite happy. So there's often items fluttering with a little tag on it. But when you're aging in place, the more you feel that you can release items, then it doesn't become such a huge burden at the very end when they still have, family members still have to come in and do some cleaning out.
Yes, and that process, depending on the situation, can take years for a family to clear out a home or an estate. We're in an area, there's lots of rural properties. Maybe there's barns, maybe there's shacks and sheds and such. So it is good for all of us to be mindful that the more work we can do now, it's really a gift to our families down the line. Clearing an estate from our perspective can be, into the $8,000 to $12,000 kind of a range, generally speaking. So, it's not an insignificant cost, but it can also be, just did one in December that was about $1,100, but that was a situation where the family member had done all sorts of things and was down to the last bits and just said, I've had enough. I just need somebody to finish this up. So they had done tons and tons and tons of work. So what was left for us was very small, but they had just done. And that was just a one-bedroom apartment. So imagine what it's like when you have something larger. And then the family, too, has that emotional attachment where we can come in. I'm not particularly attached to that coffee table or that bureau or whatever it is, but I can be logical about what the next thing is for that item and help the family go through that process.
I see. Well, we've all said to our kids that as you get older and as your life situations change, you may not want that piece anymore. Then you can offer it to your siblings or to your children.
Yeah.
You have that option. It's yours. You have the power over what happens to it next.
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
So we're releasing you from that burden or that guilt, the guilt that I carried when my mother said, you can never get rid of that. And I'm thinking, and when we finally moved that very antique, heavy, dark brown, beautiful 4-piece, 2 china cabinets, sideboard, out of the house just went. I thought I was going to be upset. I thought I was going to be like cognitive dissonance. What am I doing? I love it. I mean, the house is lighter, it's brighter, it doesn't feel claustrophobic.
Right.
My mother said.
And you raised a really good point, Mary Jane. I've said to my kids and to my clients, there should be no gift that comes with an obligation.
Yeah.
And so if I've given you something because I think you'll like it and you don't, I'm not going to be offended. It would hurt my feelings if you thought you had to keep it for the rest of your life. You are not the museum of the gifts you've been given. You don't have to be that. You can let them go. Even museums decide, you know what, we've got enough of these things, we're going to let it go. So, don't give gifts with obligation. And then, if you've given that lovely brown china cabinet to someone and you are attached to it and you go to their house and they've painted it white, just That's their china cabinet now, and they've done to it what suits them and their lifestyle, and they're still really thankful for that gift. But now it suits them, and you could be happy for them instead of going, oh, you painted that wood.
Well, I must admit, I have painted wood in the past, so it wouldn't really be a problem. But I do think, and what we did was we looked around the house. Now we don't have a place to hold our very one set of dishes, good dishes, because all the other ones have left the premises. We need something. So what do we have in the house that we could repurpose? Oh, well, we have this old dresser downstairs that was our liquor cabinet.
Yes.
We could paint it and move it upstairs,
Great.
and it would fit that one set of dishes
Yeah.
that are really special that we're not ready to part with.
Yeah.
And so we've repurposed other items in the house. Well, now there's a hole there. What else can we do? What else do we have in the house to fill that hole without bringing in anything new?
Great. And that's really a creative thinking where, again, some people will have the capacity to do that. They may say, well, that's a dresser, I can't put my dishes in it. But if someone suggests something different, it might be the first time they've had that thought, and they may need some time to adjust that that's in fact not a bad idea. So I'm not adding to my stuff in the house, but I'm adding to my usefulness in terms of that dresser.
Oh, exactly. That works really well. Just a tip. If you have to paint something white that's been black for 20 years, it takes 5 coats.
And good primer.
And a bad shoulder. So, but I think that, and the other thing that we have been doing is with the photographs. The tons that we inherited, all these photo albums from our family members, our
Yes.
mother-in-law, father-in-law, parents. Now what? So,
Yes, so there are professional organizers, I am not one, but who specialize in digital work like that, where you maybe you want to digitize some of those images that will stop them hopefully from deteriorating any further. You may have photos of people that you have no idea who they are, and in those cases, there's a photograph is supposed to elicit a memory, make you smile. If there's nothing there, there's no reason to keep it. And some people might be, shaking their fists at me right now, but there is no reason to keep it. It's not that you're throwing that person away, even though you don't know them. It's just we can't keep everything forever. It's just not possible. We're probably living in smaller homes than perhaps we used to, and as we age, we get smaller and smaller. So, to take 10 or 12 totes of old photos is not practical. So take the time while you can and go through them. Maybe you want to give some to children if you have any, or other family members, but keep the best of the best, the ones that make you smile and cause a memory or a story to come up. And then the rest, there might be some garbage, there might be some sharing with family, and maybe there's some digitization.
one of the things I've been doing is when I send out birthday cards, because I do send cards out with a note, if I find a picture of that person and it's ready to sort of pass on that picture, I put it in the birthday card, and it's a memory for them.
Nice.
And they love, I get feedback. Hey, that's a great picture. What about the hair? You know? So that's one way of releasing some of the information and giving joy to someone else.
It's a great idea. I like that. I might borrow it.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to it. But as I said, it's important to share the things that you're talking about, because they become a gift for someone else.
Yes.
And to find joy in the fact that you are releasing something and improving your own health and well-being.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I have clients often we start our relationship with tears. You know, they're so upset and overwhelmed, and then we end with more tears, but they're different tears. You know, and hugs, and I don't know why we didn't do this earlier. You know, they have that sense of relief like you did when the dining room suite left your house, like, oh, I can breathe, right? It looks so bright and good, and I feel relieved because I'm not sort of feeling stuck that I have to keep a certain thing. I love it when I'm working with a client and we'll discuss an item and they'll say, I have to keep that. I say, why do you have to? Just curious, you know. Some things we do have to keep. You know, the last 6 years of your taxes, we really should keep those. But why do I need to keep this coffee table or this chair? Well, it was a gift. It didn't come with an obligation.
I took a picture. So I took a picture of the pieces that left the building.
Good.
So
Yeah, that's the way to go. It's the way to go. And may I ask you a question then?
oh, of course.
They left the building, and where did they go?
The best place in town, Heartwood, not Heartwood Hole, Heartwood Home
Yes.
does furniture on consignment.
Yes.
And they took 3 of the pieces, the big pieces, and Habitat for Humanity took the smaller china cabinet.
Perfect.
So now it is on consignment, and we said it's not about the money that we want for this. It's we want it A, out of the house,
Yes.
and B, we want it to go to a family who actually wants to have it.
Yes.
Or a themed hotel, what do they call it? Themed Airbnb or something like that.
Right.
This is beautiful furniture.
Yes.
To go to another location.
Yes.
So Heartwood Home was very, very kind and easy to work with
Great.
to deal with that. And we've always had really good luck with Habitat over the years.
Good.
Because the items fit their criteria.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my goodness, we're wrapping up. We're running out of time. Oh, well, this has been wonderful. You've given us such great tips on how to declutter, downsize, and organize, and do it so that there's a sense of relief, maybe a sense of joy, and a tear or two, but that's okay.
That's part of it, yes.
And join me next time over coffee.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details. Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Food Network is now in free preview.
You're welcome.
Watch all new seasons of your favorite chefs, culinary competitions,
When you're in.
and bake-offs. Food Network just tastes better. And it's in free preview right now.
Welcome home.
HGTV is now in free preview. The home of possible with all your favorite builders, designers,
Come on in.
and big reveals.
Love that.
HGTV, the original and the best. Now in free preview.
In para hockey, the ice tilts in favor of men. But that will never stop us.